everybody, thank you very much for joining me once again. I hope you've had a good Saturday so far. So, where are we? We are now at week 5. For those of you who have been following along the past few weeks, we had a bit of a challenge with dealing with the wine year, but I've spent a bit of time earlier today and I've got that sorted. So I'm going to talk through what I've done. In fact, let's shuffle over to the next slide. So as you know, over the last couple of weeks, we were trying to extract the year out of the wine title because the data set that we had, we didn't have a separate year, and the year, if a wine has a year, which is something we discovered last time we streamed, not all wines have years. Some of the wines have a year that's a bit ridiculous, like I think there's like 1699 or something like that. So we know that's not going to be a valid year that these wine reviews we've got have. Excuse me. So obviously we had a few fun things happening with the wine years. Just to let you know, we've got a resolution for that, so I'm going to step through what I did, and then finally today we're going to go off and start to examine the wine year. So we're going to look at the wine grouping. So the wine grouping is what we were referring to, where the wine title might be House Red 2014, or we might have a House Red 2015. Then what we wanted to do is we wanted to get the wine group, which would be house wine, and then we wanted to extract out that year, so 2014, 2015. And then if we wanted to ask the question, how many years has house wine been, we've got that information now. We can say there's been 2 years, 2014 and 2015. So I'm going to show you what I did with regards to extracting those years out. And we're just going to explore the wine data. So there's a couple of questions I've got that I'm quite keen to ask, but also there's I'm quite keen to just explore a little bit with Bloom. We may have a couple of issues with the data, that's fine, we're just going to fix that. I think, as you've been aware, for those of you following the series, we inevitably keep refactoring the data model. That's completely fine, that's nice and easy when we do it with a graph database. And just, if we find duplicates, that's not a problem. We can fix that in situ, so it's all good. So just as a reminder, if you go into the repo page, you will have the updates. So I've done it slightly differently this week. So I was going through this and I thought, well, I'll quickly just add in a few code blocks for this week. So I'll still talk through them, but what I've done is usually I'll do the video and then I do the write-up afterwards. Here I've done like a semi-write-up already, and then I'll just go through and add extra detail along with the various questions and things that we've explored. But I thought I'd get that in there now, so for those of you who are following along and wanted to have a go at doing that, you got the stuff there. So if you want to do it in parallel with me, that is fine. So very quickly, so we talked about just a quick recap of what happened last week. So when we were going through the data, we spotted some interesting things. Oh, I've got to fix that link. So we noticed some weird things. We had like the weird branding year. So for example, we had like a port with the year of 1699 or something like that. So we definitely know that port isn't from 1699. Or if it was, it would cost like thousands upon thousands of dollars. So those are crazy years. Some of the weird years had wines had 2 years. So like 2014 something 1000 or 1970. So the ones we'll get back to the sort of like the weird years. So we had those 2 years. It's like, well, we only want 1 year, so how do we figure between the two of those? Some wines had no years at all, so like many of the Prosecco's just don't have a year, and that's fine. We can deal with that. And as you recall, we looked through the data and we thought, well, actually, let's try and figure out what's a sensible range for a year. So what would be within the realms of a sensible year for the wines being reviewed? So bearing in mind this is sort of like your supermarkets, maybe some more specialist wine things, but these are going to be sort of the more of consumer type wines that you would get, rather than sort of like the expensive stuff that's being laid down in the cellar for decades and decades, and you have to trade with them and all that things. So we looked through, and how we did this is we pulled out all of the various years that we could, and then we spotted that probably the range was going to be between 1970 and 2017. And then we to tackle the wines that had 2 years. So one of those years is what we're calling a branding year, so that's part of the name. And then obviously we have the year which is the actual year of the wine. And what we spot, it's the first year that's mentioned, that's our actual year that we want, and then the second year is the branding year. So we'll run some queries and you'll see what's going on there. So we did that. So we updated the regular expression that we were using. So effectively what we're doing is we're trying to group them as, either the wines, so effectively 2 regular expressions. So one to catch the wines from 1970 up to 1999, and then the other pattern is to handle wines from 2000 to 2017, more or less, there or thereabouts. So obviously here's the pattern here that we tested out, and it's doing stuff that we expect. And then so let's start stepping into, let's grab this query to begin with to see what's going on. So here effectively what we're saying is we want to find, so effectively we're using the APOC text replace, so this is the little trick that we're doing to pull out the year, and then this is effectively saying for any wine titles that match our ranges. So here this is basically from 2000 there or thereabouts to this obviously this will go up to 2100 and actually we could probably change that to 0. That's fine, we'll leave it for now. But anyway, so you get the idea. So this is going to catch sort of 2000s upwards, and this is catching from 1970 upwards to 1999. And the little thing that we're doing here is we're saying, well, to sort of pull out, or make sure we're pulling out the ones that actually have a year, because obviously if we've got a wine title with no year, this is still going to work, it just doesn't replace anything. So what we're saying here is to try and avoid those wines that don't have a year in them, or a valid year. So for example, the port with 1699, or the Proseccos that don't have a year in them, we don't want to return them. And I'm just doing something a bit hacky here, and what I'm basically saying is match the size of the sort of processed wine group string against the original wine title -5. So you can see we've got a space here, so that's basically going to be replacing sort of space and then the year. This one is, and this one here is also pulling the wines, I wind back on what I said. This bit here is basically and bring back the wines where the wine year, so there is no wine year. And the reason why we're doing this is because we have those wines with the branding year, and the branding year falls within 1970 to 2017 range, so we're just trying to stop those ones coming back. So just as a quick run, just run some of these so you can see what's going on. Shouldn't take too long. It's the query runs quite quickly. It's more of it rendering back, so just give it a couple of moments, and whilst it's doing that, there we go. So you can see now it's doing what we want it to do, so it's pulling out the year. All is good with the world. So that's the pattern that we're going to use. And so as I mentioned here, because we did in week 3, we created the year node and the wine group node, and we attached them both to wine. We need to clear that up. So let's get rid of those. So I'm just going to copy and paste these. And for those of you, you can do more than one statement. You just need to make sure you've got multi-statement enabled. So I'll just quickly show you how to do that just in case. So if you click on the setting cog, and then you'll spot here, you've got an option which says enable multi-statement query editor. So just tick that, and then that's really useful for stuff like this, where you're not returning anything, you just want to run some stuff. So let's do that and give it a moment whilst it does that. And right, let's talk about what I did. So we spent a lot of time, I spent a lot of time trying to come up with a regular expression pattern that was going to enable us to delete all of the text in a wine title and just leave the year. So for example here, here we found it, it was okay, it was relatively straightforward to remove here 2013 from this pattern. It was surprisingly hard. I'm sure there are many of you who are regex experts. I'm not that great. but for the life of me, I came up with something and it didn't quite work, and it stripped out all the branding years and everything, and it was really awkward. So I was having a little think about this, and I thought, hang on, let's just look through the docs for options we've got. So I went back to the APOC documentation, and let's make this a little bit bigger. And I was looking through, and I thought, oh, regex groups, that's interesting. Had a quick look, and this is brilliant, because effectively what it's going to do is I'm going to give it the regex. So we know what regex we need to pull out the valid years. We've created that. We ran that on the sample query. And what we want to do now is go, well, actually, I want to give you the options. And then this is then going to bring back a map of anything that matches that pattern. And we can do stuff with it. And what's really great about this pattern is when we're thinking about the branding years that appear in some of the wine titles, the really great thing about this is the actual year that we want is always the first year that appears. So even if this is going to bring back a map of the actual year we want and the branding year, the actual year we want always appears first. So we don't even have to worry about how we're going to filter between the two of them, which is fantastic. So let's have a quick look at what that looks like. So I've copied that, haven't I? So let's have a quick peek at that. So same idea. So here is our years. I've dropped the space now. I'm not worried about that anymore. And what this is going to do is it is going to effectively, like we said, it's going to bring back a map of the valid years. So we're going to bring them back as years. And then just quickly explain what's going on here. So what I want to do, bearing in mind that this is also going to return stuff back on the wine titles that have no year or don't have a year that matches our pattern, and it's going to bring back like basically null, and so we don't want those, they're not useful. So what I'm doing here is I'm saying, well, I want to do the size of the years, and I just don't bring me back any title, don't bring me back anything that doesn't have years in it, if it's it's empty. So that's what I'm just doing here. So where s is greater than 0, and then I'm just going to get rid of this bit for now, just so you can see what comes back. So let's just run this, and I'm just going to do 10 of those. So you can see here straight away. So here is our wine title, and you can see here we've got this sort of an array within an array. So you can see straight away what we want to do is we want to get into the first position of sort of basically 0, 0 position, and we're going to get the year. And did we have I'm just trying to think. Let's does this work? Maybe not. Will this give me the intended result that I desire? Excellent. So you can see here as well, so this is what we were talking about, the wine titles that have got more than one valid year within our range, but it's always the first year that we want. So that's the assumption that we've made, that's our business rules that we've made with regards to which is the valid year. And as you can see with this is great, because I'm always, if I do that sort of always get the 0 position within the two arrays, then I'm always going to get the right year. So if we come back to this, and let's go back and do this, so we want 0 position and then 0 position of the array within that one, and there we go, brilliant. So we are sorted now. So all we need to do is just put, and you can see some of these have got multiple years. So I guess that's a note to ourselves, because that, I'm not going to worry about it today. I don't know how many of these it happens. Again, it's not going to be too much effort to, you know what, let's just do it quickly. So I'm just going to quickly check to see how often does that happen, because that might be something we need to deal with in the future when, we were talking about the wine groups and how many years is that wine group valid for. We might want to create in the past. So I'm just going to quickly run that to see what happens. And we're going to do something again. Let's do... How are we going to do this? Oh, this is probably not the best way of doing this. I guess what we could do, and years naught is equal to years 1 naught. Okay, that should do it, I think. Let's just quickly check to see if that runs. Oh, yep, excellent, perfect. So let's just see. Let's see how many of these we have. So just 4. Okay, yeah, whatever. That's I'm not even going to worry about that. That's out of the 120,000 wines we've got. I'm not going to worry about 4 wines. Okay, brilliant. So let's get back to what I did. So having discovered we can use this regex group, what made sense then is, so we've dealt with the 14 awkward wines we had with the 2 years. But what made sense now? So whereas previously what we did was we extracted out the wine group, so that's the wine title without the year. We then extracted out the year, and then we were sort of connecting things together. Because now we've got a sensible way of getting the year out, it makes more sense, in my opinion. And there'll be obviously many ways of doing this, but to me it made the most sense that what we should do is go away, create the year node, then connect the year node to the wine node. And then what we can do is we use both nodes to create the create the wine group node. So basically what we're doing here is we're going to use replace, but rather using a very exciting regex pattern, we're just going to use the year value, and that's what we're going to use replace, and that's a much simple thing. And again, as there has been a common theme here, we're running these in passes. I mean, you could sort of try and pull these together with Quarry, but I'm trying to avoid the eager queries. So you've got the first pass here where we're creating the year node. We've got the next pass here where what we're doing is we're sort of going to basically create the relationship between the wine node and the year node. And then here, finally, we're using the pattern to, basically we want to bring back all of the wines with that have a relationship to a year node, and then we use the information to replace those. So I'm going to quickly run all of those, and we're going to put the data in. Check we've got something. Yep. Okay, so let's let that run. And what I will, whilst that is going on, I just wanted to quickly mention about the wines that have no year. So originally I was thinking, well, we can use the same approach we used when we had the we had like some wines that didn't have a country, or some wines that didn't have a region, and so forth. And I thought, we can have a node called no year. And then I thought about this a little bit and thought, well, one of the assumptions that we made at the start of this process was that every single wine title that we had was unique. So that's how we deduped some of our data. And it dawned on me that if there's no year to remove from that, so that was like the variable, so it's almost like we're, for want of a better description, we're normalizing, where we're removing the year from the title, and then we're creating our two tables, or our 2 nodes. It dawned on me, but if there isn't a year to remove, then what's the point of creating the wine group? Because that should be unique. So I'm not going to do the creating a no year group, because effectively what you're going to do with the, I can't remember, 5,000 odd wine titles that we had without a year, we're effectively going to be connecting them all to a node that says no year, and I don't think there's any value in that. We can easily write a query to let us know if there is a year, but just checking if it has a relation. If it doesn't have that relationship to a year node, then it doesn't have a year. So it raises an interesting question, which is, is our assumption that the wine title is unique, or are there other things at play? So I'm not going to worry about that one too much, because I'm sure it will happen where you'll have certain Proseccos and things like that where they're going to keep producing the same Prosecco over different years, but they don't put a year to it. So there might be something else involved that defines its uniqueness. So maybe different reviewers have reviewed it. There may be some information, or there might not be any information. So it may be that situation where we just don't have enough data differentiate from that. So I decided for this, I'm just going to leave those ones as is, and we'll just focus on the ones that have got years. So let's have a look. Okay, we have all of our data loaded. So if we do, let's have a quick look at the model. We shall now see, hopefully and happily, we have got our wine group and we've got the year. So what I suggest, let's have a quick do a query in here and then we'll switch over to Blue. So, am I still connected? Oh no, I assume everything is okay. Oh, we're good. So, we're in this, so we've got this, so we can see we've got these things connected. So let's ask. So the first question I want to know is, tell me about the wines from different years. And now we can do this. So what we're going to do is we are going to use sort of wine here as our pivot point. So effectively we're going to go, you know, wine group to year. So we want to know all of the years for a wine group, and we're going to go via the wine node to enable us to do that. So we can do something like this. So match wine group in wine group. And then we can do something like return dot title and collect y dot value years. Oh, can I do this all in one fell swoop? Not fell swoop even. Right, so effectively we want to know, no, I didn't think I could do that. Let's do it up here, so let's do width wine group and so we shall let that run. Cool. Okay. Oh, I used the wrong one. I should probably use size for years. That's okay. So we're getting an idea here. So we've got some wines and now we get the groups. That's exciting. So there we go. We've got the Gary Farrell Hallberg. So we've got all of those wines coming back and got some groups. So this is exciting. So straight away, we can now answer questions such as what wines have carried over a number of years. We can probably start asking some questions around which years were really popular. Oh, let's do that next. Okay, so I'm going to... So let's just sort this out. So we want size rather than count. And I am going to just bring up Notepad so that we can make a copy of the query. And then the next thing I'm going to ask is which was a popular year, because I think that would be an interesting one to answer. Oh, so this is interesting. We have got multiple years being repeated here, so we should probably have a look at what's going on there. Got double 13, 17. So okay, so let's do this. I'm just going to bring up the ID so we can just quickly see what's going on, and I'm going to do ID WG. Oh, I did this the wrong way around, didn't I? CY, and then I'm just going to get rid of this bit. So let's bring back the IDs, and then we're going to quickly explore this one, see why it's got that. So there's probably a couple of paths. So let's just have a quick look as to what's going on there. Oh, that was exciting. Okay, because we're not guaranteeing what order they come in. Right, okay, so we've got node ID, so let's do that. So do match. Seven. How do we want to do this? Probably. Oh no, we can do it. Okay, we can do that. We can do this, and then we'll just double click on the node. So I'm just using the internal ID to just quickly pull it back because we know exactly what that is. Just do this so we can put the name on there. Cool. Right, double click on that to expand out the years. Oh, we need to put. Oh, that's interesting because it says we've got 14 years as well. So we'll have to have a look as to. Oh no. So those are the wines. So we've got 14 wines. Okay, so you know what's happened here. So it looks like we've still got some duplicates in our data. That's okay, that's fine. We'll go out and sort those later. But what I think's happening is the reason why we're getting the double count of years is we've probably got two 2013 years. So here's the one. I bet you if we go around we're going to find another one. Oh no, not 20. It's 2012 that repeats twice. So let's. Oh, we've got two. Here you go. You've got two 2014s going on there. So you've got 2014 there. And you've got 2014 there. So we just need to have a look what's happened there. And that's fine. We'll sort out the duplicates later. But that's why we were getting those repeating years. Because again, if I'm not going to double click on that because it's going to expand everything. But what's going to happen is that these two will point to the same year. And it just means it's got an extra path to go down. So that's fine. That's interesting. We'll look into that later. So next thing I wanted to know is which was the most popular year. So again, we can do something similar. So I'm just going to go wine to year. So let's do match wine. Oops. From year. And I'm going to do return. I'm going to collect these, so let's do with W and collect Y as years. Oh, let's do. No, I'm doing this the wrong way around. I don't want to do this. I want to do the years, not the wine. So I'll do it this way around. So with Y, and then we're going to collect the wines. So collect. And then what we want to return the year. And we want to return the size of the collection. So let's do this, and we're going to find out which are the popular years. Alright, let's have a look. Oops, that's fine. That's wines. Aha! Oh, that's interesting. So there's a lot of bunching there, isn't there? So not much in it between 2012 and 2013, and then 2014 it sort of drops off a little bit. Oh, this would be a good one to plot. So I might take that away and plot it out into a chart because I think that one might be a bit of fun. Just taking a note. Have a look at the chart and the distribution. That's quite interesting. So bearing in mind that this is 2017 was the newest year that we had. So I would have thought that maybe 2014 fits in. 2014, 2015 would be the popular years, but not quite the case. So 2012, 2013. So that's very interesting. So we have a quick look, and then we have the distribution here. So what we probably will find is that maybe these are either actual wines, or maybe some of these are brand years. Not important, because you would expect that the vast majority would be up here. But again, that's interesting. So we've got distribution, and again, we can use this to factor in any kind of rules that we want to put in. So I said we're going to have a quick look in Bloom, so let's do that. Just going to start up Bloom. Let's wait for, there we go. And we might need to add some labels here, because we've added some new nodes from when we last looked in Bloom. So to just show you quickly, so you can see here, so originally when we generated a perspective, we only had those 3 nodes, but we have some more now. So what we can do, if you want to add the things manually, you can click on add new category, and then what will happen is Bloom will show you any categories that are in the database that is red, that are not currently in use. So I am going to add these in very quickly. So I'm going to add designation, and what Bloom will do as well, it'll try and guess what's a sensible value. So just keep doing this. Title and wine group, we want title, and year is the last one, and we want value. Brilliant, and that's it. And then that's all I needed to do to add that information to the perspective. So that's all done now. So we can do a similar idea. So let's we can have a look at wines. So let's pick what was a rare year. Let's do 1975. We've got wine from 1975. These, don't worry too much about these. I suspect this is an old artifact. So I didn't drop the index. So what Bloom does is it goes away and has a look at your indexes that you've set. And obviously I created indexes before, and then we had like the dodgy years that were loaded. So it's still keeping those. So actually I'll show you now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop those indexes and put them back in again, and then you'll be able to see how it's been fixed. So let's do that quickly. We had year, and that was value. And then I will recreate it. And I'm going to do the same with the wine group as well. That was title. Right, so we're going to let that run. I'm just going to quickly take a note. Right, so it will do the indexes, hopefully. There we go. So it might take a little while. So what we can do, so if I go to Bloom, so I'll need to restart Bloom. Actually, let's see if I can just refresh the data. Refresh data. I'm going to turn it off and on again, just in case. So if I go back and start Bloom again, and hopefully we'll have the new indexes. I don't know how long it should take. There's not a huge number of entries for indexes to be generated. Okay, so let's do 1975. Oh, okay, we'll try again later. But yeah, so what will happen is, because if we drop and recreate the indexes, then hopefully just do that. Well, let's just quickly check that I don't have any funny wine years. Shouldn't do. I did check these quickly before I started. No, all is fine there. That's behaving as expected, so that's fine. I'll have a think with that, it'll be fine. But anyway, so go to Bloom. So I wanted to find out wines from 1975. So what I can do is, so that's the year. Oh, okay. No, that's interesting. I'm just going to bring this up because it's saying it's the wine node. So where is it bringing the... Oh, it's the ID. That's why it is showing those, because it's using the... It's using the actual ID of the node. That would explain it. So that's fine. So what we can do, I'm going to just do it like this. So if you want to refer to a property, then what you can do is, if you do year, and then we know it's called value. So I do year value, and then I can put it in there. So 1975. Maybe we don't have a 1975. We don't. We've got 1976. There we go. All right. So if I just do 1976. Okay, we'll look into that later. Okay, so we've got the year. Going to get rid of this. Dismiss this node. So what we can do now is I can now expand out, or I can do it here. So I do year value 1976. And then I want to know what the wine was. So if I do wine, and then that will bring back the wine. So we know there's just one wine here because we had a look earlier. But let's pick one of the more popular ones. So I'm just going to quickly look here because we don't really want to bring back 10,000 nodes. So let's pick something that's a little bit more dignified. Oh, let's go for the 23. So 1994. So same idea. I'm just going to get rid of these. Oops, didn't mean to do that. I'm just going to clear the scene. Right, so 1994 we said was a good year. Brilliant. So we can see there. So you can see all of the wines. Let's make this a bit bigger. So we can see all of the wines from 1994. So that's cool. And I guess, what else can we do? Let's have a look at vineyards. I mean, the likelihood of them coming from the same vineyard at such a small number is fairly low. But what we can do is we can do a pattern. So just to try out some other fun stuff with Bloom. Maybe I want to ask about wines from the same year that come from the same winery. So it's a quick reminder of what that model looks like. There we go. So if you remember, we've got wine here, and then so we've obviously got the year, and we've got the winery. So what I want to do is I want to find out whether that winery produced more than one wine for the same year. So we're going to have a quick think about how we're going to do this pattern. So what we're probably going to do is we're going to do actually, I can't think of an obvious way of doing that in Bloom, so let's do it in Cypher. So let's find out about wineries that had more than one wine in the same year. So we're going to do something like this. So match. Let's do winery. From winery. Do and then we're basically doing this sort of boomerang pattern. So I'm going to go back again, so it's almost like doing a loop back to the same winery. So that's how we're forcing the same year and same winery, but we might go down different routes for wine. So I'm going to do this. Oh, I've got to do from year, which is a good idea as we've got much stuff coming off of wine. year. We've got W2 wine, and that's going to hook back into our same winery. So I'm just going to do that one, and then let's find out. Let's have a bit of fun with this. So not only are we finding out wineries who've done more than one wine in the same year, let's do it. We're going to order it by the most. So this is where we're going to find about. So obviously the year might differ, but what we're going to do here is basically saying, bring me back which winery did the most number of wines, and what was that year, and then we can order those. So that'll be a bit of fun. So let's do that. So let's return. Actually, we want to collect some of these. So let's. Okay, so with the winery, with the year, because we'll want to know that, and we're going to want to count. How are we going to count this? So the only problem that we have here, I've just realised, is if there's more than one wine, then it's going to do that thing where, let's say a winery did 3 wines for the same year, and then it's going to do wine 1, wine 2, then wine 1, wine 3, then wine 2, wine 3. So we end up getting more paths because there's more than one path down that route, and that may inflate order. So we can use distinct, and that kind of gets rid of that problem, but I'm just trying to think if there's a smarter way of doing that. So we're going to do this. This is going to be our last query, I think, for today, and then I'll start thinking about what we can do next time to take this further. Okay, so let's have a quick think about this. I guess what we could do, we could collect the 2 wines, and then we collect in an unwine. Just a bit messy and horrible. I don't really want to do that. So let's just go with this. Let's see what happens. This is not going to work, but we just do this in sections just to see what's going on. So return title, value, and if I do size wines, it's probably going to give me like 2 or something. But let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. I should probably put limit 5. Ah well. Worst case scenario, we just have to wait for 20 seconds. Maybe not even that long. It's all good. Oh, okay. What did I do wrong there? I thought it was title, but never mind. Oh, this is interesting. So, first of all, let's see why I did that. Why we not? I thought I put down title. Let me just quickly check. So, winery. This is when I discover we've got some wineries with no title. I probably called it value, didn't I? It's all good. Let's see what happens. And we used name. There we go. That's my fault. Should stick to some sort of convention. That's okay. Easily resolved. So that query didn't take too long, did it? That's fine. Right, okay, so I'm just going to be lazy and not run it with a limit. So we're just going to change it back to name. Same idea. I'm just going to get rid of that. Actually, I might collect the titles, and oh, that's going to be overwhelming if we do that. Oh, you know what? It's fine. No, we'll leave it for now, and then we'll have a look at those prolific wineries. So let's get some names first. So let's do that and see what's going on. give it a moment to run. There we go. Gary Farrell, William Salem. I bet these are quite large wineries. And I didn't order the sizes. Okay, that's fine. 2013, popular year. So let's... I think there's probably a bit of double counting going on here. That's okay. So let's just quickly go back to this. I'm going to sort them by... let's see, like we've got crazy amounts, and then what we can do is we'll pick a range, and then we're going to look at the wine titles to just see is there double counting going on, which I suspect there is double counting going on, but that's okay. We've got clever tricks that we can use to deal with that. Oh my goodness! Right, yeah, we can see we've got some double counting going on here. So what's happening is if you think about the pattern that we're doing, and actually maybe if I draw that up in paint it will make more sense, or actually let me do in arrows. Let's do arrows. Just going to create a new incognito window and then get into arrows. So arrows. So basically what's happening, and I'll quickly explain what's going on. So let's say we've got, this is going to be winery, and then we've got, actually I can just going to get rid of this. It makes more sense if I do it from here. So you've got winery, then you've got wine. So let's call this title wine 1. I'm going to be using such creative names. You've got wine 1, wine 2. And we've got another wine. We're just going to stick with 3, just so I can explain what's going on. Wine 3, and let's say these are all for the same year. So I'm going to quickly year. Let's say it's going to be, I don't know, 2013. That was a popular year, wasn't it? And let's connect these all together. So basically, what's going on? Let's space these out a little bit. So unfortunately, what's going on is when we're doing that query, so if you remember, we're kind of doing this sort of like a boomerang type pattern. So we're starting with winery, we go out to wine, we go out to year, we go back down to wine, and we come back to the same winery. So the winery and the year are the same. So we're keeping those constant. And then we're just going down different paths of the wine. And what's happening at the moment, where you can see these multiple, the winemaker's been repeated several times, and then we've got different... Oh, actually, no, sorry, I'll take that back. So it's not happening with winemakers because these are different years, but where we may have multiple, so I'm going to just flesh out the query. But my concern as to what's going on here is it's going down this path and back up, and then it's doing another path here and then back up again, and then it might be doing this. So I'm just going to quickly check to see if that's going on. It could well be that those wineries have like loads of different wines, but I suspect not. I mean, that does seem quite large. So let's pick, so again I'm going to do the little trick where I get the internal ID for the node. Let's close some of these to speed up browser. So I'm going to do the same trick where I get the internal ID node. So I'm just going to grab a copy of this query. Actually I think I already have, haven't I? So yeah, well, come on browser. I will just start again. Right, let's open browser again. It doesn't take very long. Okay, so we revisit our previous query. So I'm going to get I want to get the internal ID for the winery, and then we're going to put a where clause in there so that we can investigate what's going on. So let's do ID of the wine node. And then everything else is as before. So let's quickly do that. I'm going to scroll down the list where we don't have thousands of those, because otherwise it's going to be an unwieldy list. And we can have a look what's going on. So let's sort of scroll down here. Let's sort of, Okay, then let's go for 72 then. So we've got the idea here for Alma-Rosa, which is 2144. So let's get that one. And what we're going to do is we're going to sort of bring back all the names. Let's do the title, and let's see what happens. Let's see what comes back. Oh, I forgot to actually return the title. Silly me. Right, so let's do... Don't need the sizes. What we do want, we want the wines. Oh, and I need to spell it correctly. That would be helpful. Let's have a quick look. Oh, yeah, there we go. We have repeating wines. Clone, so we can have a look what's going on here. So okay, so we need to deal with that. So let's try so I collected them, so I'm now unwinding them, and it's a bit of a funny thing because we've got the titles. It has them here in these arrays, but when we unwind them, it's going to put them all out, and then we can collect them again, and it's not going to have them as sort of arrays within arrays, if that makes sense. So I'm going to do that, and then let's do with collect distinct wines as distinct wine as wines. So let's see what happens, and I'm going to return the count as well. So let's do size wines, and let's see what happens. We had 72 before, so let's see, have we changed something by doing it like this? Ooh. 6 records. Okay, why are we streaming back? Oh, because there's multiple years. That could well be doing multiple years. So let's have a quick look. Have we got... I'm going to just return the size for now. Let's do that and see what comes back. So we had 72 before. Oh. Need to get rid of the comma as well. Alright, let's have a look at what happens here. There we go. So it was 2013, if you remember, if you recall, and it was 72, and now we've got down to 56. So that's more like it. I think we've gotten rid of the duplicates. Yes, there we go. So it was Alma Rose 2013. Oh no, it was 56. Hang on. So it's 2014 that had 72. 2014 still has 72. Let's just examine that a little bit further. So let's put value is 2014. So really pinning. Oh, still got US keyboard mode. 2014. So really sort of like trying to factor it down. So. Alright. Oh no, I wanted to show the titles. That's fine. So let's just see what's going on. So let's show the wines. Let's have a quick look at what is going on. Oh, I've not unwound them completely. So let's try. Let's return wine. See what's going on. So we know it's for that winery at that particular year, so we don't need to return the rest of it. Okay, so it's still returning them as pairs. Oh, can I unwind this again? Or is it going to complain? Okay, no, cool. So we just need to unwind it twice. So let's go back to this. Oh no, that's the previous query. There we go. I don't think it will let me do 2 unwinds on the trot, but let's just quickly check. Oh, it will do. Perfect. Okay, so, look at that. We've gone from 72 wines to 9, which probably makes sense. If you think about it, if you've got 9 different wines, then it's going to be, or n different wines, and it's going to be n minus 1 different sort of combinations, so that would be 8, so that's where we got the 72 from. Okay, that's fine. There will be a pretty way of doing this, but let's do the double unwind for now on our previous query to answer our question, and then we can have a look at how we'd do that better next time. But the main thing is we can now do that query that we wanted to do. So we did our collected wine, so we're just going to do the double unwind, so and the distinct, so and then we recollected it, didn't we? Yes, we did, didn't we? So with this is terrible. There is a nice way of doing this, and I'm going to show you, maybe not today, but what we can do. There's a new feature with union. So in a previous version of Cypher, you had the union keyword, and what it allowed you to do was, if you had 2 different parts of a query you wanted to run, and you wanted to sort of join the output together, you could, but you had to return it straight away. But there's been a slight change in the union keyword, where what you can do is you can union the stuff together and then carry on with your query. So I'll have a look at what that will look like for this, and I will pop it into the repo so you can sort of catch up and have a look there. So I think we might be able to do that, and that'll make this a lot prettier than this. This is sort of not the prettiest way, but it does the job, and we like it when it does the job. So as wines, so now hopefully we should be, oh, we got the ID there, so I'm just going to get rid of that. We want all of them. Now let's see what happens. Just give that a moment. I'm just going to quickly make a copy of that query. Oh wow, we're still getting some crazy numbers of wines. So we were at the bottom, weren't we? So what are we missing out? Something not quite right here, is there? Back up to 72. So let's just quickly revisit what I have. What did I do before? Let's have a quick right. So we unwound it, we wound it, we distinct the wines. Round, wind. Let's just have a quick look. What have I done differently here? Because I did the wrong one, not W2. That's fine. Mystery has been solved. Little bug. Oh, that's more like it. There we go. That's more like it. 39, 38. So there we go. We've sorted that out. So that's cool. So what's interesting is we can see, so these wines and winemakers, they have a lot of different wines coming from their winery. So they've got 38 or so. So that's pretty cool. So something to quickly bear in mind is that this is only ever going to show wineries that have done more than one wine. So we're not going to see any wineries that only produce one wine, but this is obviously based on the wines that have been reviewed from our data set. I mean, the winery may have done more than one, but this is just based on the data that we have. But yeah, that's cool. There we go. So we can, some interesting ones going on here. So, we can definitely have some more fun with this later, where we then start to sort the names. So let's sort the names actually. Now we can have a quick just quick scoot through. So let's do, we'll have it ascending is fine. Let's just quickly rerun that again to sort by names, and then probably see wine and winemakers like do loads across different years. So there we go. There you go, 14 hands. Oh, look at those, they've got loads of years. Okay, here is our lovely funny years as well. But yeah, okay, that's cool. So you can see what's going on. Okay, so that's brilliant. So what have we covered today? We have sorted out the year problem. So we talked about how we use the regex groups to help us do that. And once we extracted the years, we could then use the years. So we then replaced the years in the wine titles to then create the wine groups. So the wine groups are the wine titles without the year. So we've done all of that. And then what we did next, we then looked at what were popular years. So all the popular years. So we did which years had the most wines. We also had a look at which wine groups had the most number of years. So we did that as well. We talked about the multiple path problem, and then we sort of, how we fixed it. We've just done that just now. And then the other kinds of questions we were looking at were which wineries have done the most number of wines for a given year. So we've had a good bit of fun there. So that's been really interesting. So I think we've covered a fair bit of ground. So please do go away and have a go yourselves. You've got the repo address, so I will bring that back up again. So do have a look. You've got the repository address there to go away and check out. Here. Have a go again. If you've got any questions, let me know on Twitter, or as somebody has done, you can post an issue on the GitHub repository and I'll get back to you on that. Just a quick mention, so this will be the last session that I'm doing on Saturday. So what I'll be doing, the next session of this will be on Friday, and it's going to be an hour earlier than this slot, so hopefully not too big a difference time slot wise, and I hope to see you then.